It is 5:30.
Hola.
I'm Michael.
I'm Jamie.
And welcome for another installment of of Talking Tarot. Two of Wands.
Two of Wands, yep.
And the Emperor is today's card.
Yep.
You're all set?
I am.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, the Emperor, number 4. The stern but stable leader.
So you've always got wonderful notes, Michael. What do you have on here?
Do you want me to? Get the
I
ball
like,
rolling?
Yeah, I do like how you do that.
All right, so let's start with. Well, here's the Rider-Waite-Smith version, and you can see he's dressed for battle, passively sitting but ready to jump into action.
Ta-da!
There we go. On his cubic red, well, on his cubic throne at least. It's not red in this one, but yeah, he's got the Ankh as his ruling staff there, because he's kind of like the Omega. No, if the Empress is the Alpha, he's the Omega. He's Mars. He's war, like she's creative and beauty and love, and he's the stern, the other hand. The buck stops with him. So he's that masculine energy to her feminine. But with the Rider-Waite is actually my least favorite interpretation of him. I actually like the Marseille version, where he's got the crossed legs that look like the number 4 there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're creative. But my all-time favorite version of him is the Crowley's Thoth deck, where it's just full of so much wonderful symbology. So you've got the red, which is that Mars.
Let me grab my Crowley.
Crowley. Yeah.
I know. How organized am I, right?
You can find him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Crowley Thoth deck, he's got that red, which unlike the Empress, which is the white, so this gets into all this alchemy stuff, where the white is the unmatured substance, and red becomes the matured substance. So that's why it's the Red King and the White Queen, often referred to through there he is. Yep. Through the process of alchemy. Yeah, so, and then he's got the double-headed eagle here, which is the 2 birds that the father of Mars, Jupiter, sent on a quest, opposite directions, to find the sacred space. So that's represented here, and then the lamb here is, some say, representing Christianity, and notice how that's in shadow. The sun is actually being reflected off of his wand, and the sunlight you can see coming to land on the shield, and the Christianity or the old-fashioned ideas are in the shadow, and it's pointing towards this newer light, which is what Crowley was encouraging. And then you've got the ram's skulls, which are representing aggression and courage. Oftentimes there's mountains. You can see hidden there. You can see it a little bit better in the Rider-Waite-Smith, actually. But the mountains being the pinnacle, because he's in charge. He's top of the world. He's he's the father figure, but he's the ruler, and mastering control over the physical world, which is all about that number 4 energy. Is that structure there's 4 elements, there's 4 legs to a table, there's 4 suites in the tarot. If 4 is just a solid and stable number, and he's the epitome of that. He's the structure of and represented by the number 4. And let's see, so he's got in this one, in the Crowley version, he's got the crossed legs, but this actually looks like an ankh in itself. So you've got the globe, and then the crossed legs making making an ankh, and then the Rider-Waite doesn't have the crossed legs, but they just have a more obvious ankh in the wand. So you've got the wand doing that same thing, but the ankh representing life and death, and like I said, he's the other half of the story. From the Empress is creative and he's destructive, the alpha omega kind of thing. But yeah, he draws his wisdom from a higher source, but it's but he's almost he's unaware of it. He's
so
yeah.
You really like the Thoth deck.
I do.
So what is it about the Thoth deck that really gets you then?
So so the Thoth deck goes back to the Marseille, in that he's facing to the left to catch the eye of the Empress looking at him. Just like the Marseille deck.
But now here, okay, so now I'm going to start entering.
Yeah.
So the original card, the original tarot.
Right.
Okay, so here we have the Visconti. And as we move to the Visconti, one of the oldest Marseille decks, the Noble,
yep,
has him looking to the right.
To the right.
The same as this one. So what happens is that this woodcut, and you can tell by the eagle.
Yep.
This woodcut was done in reverse, which means that the eagle's facing to the left instead of to the right.
Yep.
And that has a full set of meaning in itself, because you have left is actually means sinister. What is that? Sinister in Latin or something like? So left.
It can.
Yeah. So. But left, and then you have right, which is the stronger side.
Yeah, I mean, but the Crowley has the double-headed eagle, where it's where the eagle's looking.
Marries the two.
Exactly.
So and that's popular also because they actually, when the houses would intermarry.
Right.
But the thing is that's interesting about the Crowley deck, if you notice, is that this is the only place, and it's unique, where the heads are looking in and not out.
Yeah.
So what is the symbology then for the Crowley looking?
Crowley, yeah. So the idea was that Jupiter, he sent these birds.
Were they the swans, or is it a different story?
Different story. But he sends them in opposite directions to find the sacred space, and they go around the world, and then they meet again, but basically the sacred space is within you. So that's the whole lesson of that story was
Gotcha.
finding that sacred space within. But yeah, but that's the whole. But if you look behind them, behind the two birds, you'll see this sun, and that's another thing that separates. So on his Empress, you got the moon peeking out behind the bird, but on the shield. But on his Emperor, it's the sun, and it's again that masculine, feminine counterbalance. The emperor is the other half of the empress. So it's I love how they complete each other. It's the embodied form of both, but just taking it to the next logical step is one of the main reasons I'm drawn to that. Another reason I like he's got like this bee. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, so on his shirt there, he's got like little bees.
He does have little bees.
Yep. And that
he's got bees right up there.
Yeah. And that lends to the whole organization and structure of a beehive, and it fits so well with the number 4 energy of the emperor, because again, it's all about structure, stability, and that safe, secure, protective power that is the emperor. He's a concrete planner.
Yep.
He's and just like a bee. but it's not an active energy, whereas the empress is actively creating. He's sitting and he's ready to jump up, but he's passive. He's a calm ruler.
Okay, so here's my question for you then, because so Jupiter, I understand Jupiter. Okay, that's a whole different alignment than planet, whereas opposed to, since they were both in the Golden Dawn, we have Aries, the ram,
right? So
which is the stronger. It's
Well, it's more Mars than Jupiter. Jupiter is the father of Mars.
Yeah.
But it's the red Mars energy.
So,
but the rams are more, again, just representing your, let's see here. Rams are aggression and courage, the leadership qualities of being the king and being able to act, back up your words with force.
okay.
The astrology is kind of like a whole nother thing.
Well, but now it makes me want to look at the Oswald Wirth, who was another.
Sure.
I'm going through here.
So Wirth, so Wirth was
see what he has then.
Wirth is from the French tradition, but he also added the mystical to it. So he took the Marseille a little bit step further. He wasn't English school; he was French school, but he added the mysticism, which is fantastic. I love the Wirth deck.
The Wirth deck is really cool. I mean, you'll notice. Well, you know what? We'll cover that later when we go into the pips. But let me see here, because now that you've said that, it's like,
how does he do it?
Come on.
There he is. So, so
he has him.
So for it's more closer to the Rider Waite Smith in that he's forward facing. I mean, he's looking left, but he doesn't have the crossed arms.
And so he's got his staff. He's looking to the right. He's got his crown. He's still dressed. He's got the the partial armor on. Well, he's got the partial armor. Yep. But he doesn't have the same symbolisms either. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Wirth is.
So, well, I'm just saying that seeing the Crowley.
Yep.
Yeah, just he's got so much different types of symbolism in there. And actually, now that we say that, he's got the rams.
He does. Yep, they're back there.
Okay,
absolutely.
So he's got rams right there.
He's got the rams and the lamb. So
he's just trying to cover all bases.
Yeah, but
and he's got a fleur-de-lis in there.
Yep. It's the red, monotones and yellows. It's just very powerful. One of my favorite cards in the Thoth deck, actually. In that he's got an allure to him. I don't know what it is, but it's that stern, but fair, quality. not gonna mess around, but you know, it's like the father figure that's got your back when you need him, but he's also gonna, you know, give you smacked upside the head if you need that too. You know,
Okay.
he's just a strong patriarchal figure, is how I see him, and a force to be reckoned with. You know? But yeah, let me. So yeah, so the going back to the way that he's sitting, so it's the Ankh thing is definitely one of the interpretations. The other interpretation is that it's creating the sign for sulfur, which again is the alchemy thing, the salt, mercury, and sulfur, you know, being the stages of alchemy. But the alchemic glyph for sulfur is like this triangle with a cross below it, so you can see that in the way that he's holding his body. So you've got the triangle of his body, and then the cross below it is basically the symbol for sulfur. And so you've got that, again, that white queen, red king. It's all, when you're thinking in alchemical terms, which again is all code for bettering yourself. It's not really about turning base metal into gold. It's about purifying yourself. And so these truths are being coded heavily in decks like, you know, the further you go into the English tradition, the more of this esoterica is woven in, which I love. But it's neat that it also goes back to the earliest incarnations. Like you look at and this is why I don't really care for the Rider-Waite one where he's looking forward. I like that he's, you know, he's leaning, he's passively sitting, but he's leaning, and he's got the crossed legs, and he's looking, you know, over. It's all these...
He's looking Dexter.
Yeah, he's exactly. He's
Dexter, he's looking to the left.
He's looking to the left. And, yeah, so all those things that... It's like Crowley's like, I see what you did, Marseille. I'm going to bring that back.
And you can see, obviously, then, since he did that, he's using the Converse, which is the later version.
Right.
So this is the 1600s, this is 1700s. So, you know, the decks that they had access to would obviously influence what they've got.
Well, sure. But I mean, if you go back to the earliest version, you know, the Visconti Scorza. So he's looking left, and yes, the earliest decks, I'm sorry.
Well, no,
he's looking right.
He's looking to the right.
He's looking right, and then in the earliest decks, he continues to look right. Then they, like you said, they made they reversed.
So the woodcutter.
The woodcutter flipped it.
Well, yeah, because he's looking at it. But, and he did this also with the Emperor. He's chipping away,
right?
And he's not thinking about a mirror image. He ends up making, you know,
he makes the mirror.
He makes the mirror image
unintentionally.
Yes,
but then, happenstance or whatever, it becomes part of. It becomes meaningful.
And so well, that's where you read the card that you have in front of you.
That's exactly right.
So that's why I always say it's like learning keywords and everything else is great.
Right.
But
you got to read.
You got to go on
intuition.
Yeah. You know, you got to see what the card's looking at and everything else. It's not about, you know, the Rider-Waite staring straight ahead and then always saying this is going to mean this because this is what the Rider-Waite little book says. Right.
It's looking at the Rider-Waite, you're going to get a different reading than you would with the Crowley or the Marseille, because it's a different looking emperor. But I like that those, you know, I like how the woodblocker maybe unintentionally flipped it.
It was unintentional.
Yeah. But it was a happy little accident, like Bob Ross would say. Yeah. And it becomes something so meaningful. And then to the point where Crowley's like, oh no, we have to go back to that mistake. Quote unquote
no,
mistake.
he doesn't know. Okay, so they had limited access to limited. I mean, everybody had decks and stuff like that. They would do their own drawings.
Sure.
It was important to do their own drawings, but they're going to emulate what they see. He's not going to. I don't believe that he would just take it and reverse it. He would take.
Oh, he would have done anything he wanted. I mean,
yeah.
he was definitely a rule breaker.
Well, absolutely.
But that was important to him. For obvious reasons, that I went through, that makes sense to keep it that way.
Sure.
Yeah, which I like how the story grows and builds, even if there are mistakes along the way. But then
it's not even a mistake per se, right?
Well, I mean, in the beginning it might have been. He flipped it unintentionally, but then like after that. It became so ingrained and meaningful that it's no longer a mistake, and that is the way it is going forward. It's who's to say? I mean, life is all about making little mistakes that turn
right
your path one way or the other.
Well, again, it's one of those things where an artist is going to put his own spin on anything anyway. I mean, that's why and their own talent, how much talent they have. There's other Marseilles out there that I've got that are just beautiful works of art from the 1800s, because you look at these wood blocks and they look so primitive.
Yeah, but each puts their own spin on it. For my deck, my Emperor, I'm having him.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do for your deck?
So my Emperor is going to...
and that's why I was sitting there. Okay, go on about that. Because it sounded like you were going to have a major influence from the Thoth deck.
Yeah. So my Emperor is very much like Crowley's Thoth deck, because that's the one that strongly resonates with me. So I have him sitting in much the same way, in very much red hues. And with the four-pointed crown, with the bee, with the I've got a sword by his side and actually bloodstained ground, because it's battle worn. Again, the whole idea of him being the other half of the Empress. She's all fertile and green with waterfalls, and he's barren landscape. Like it's on Mars, it's red and barren with bloodstains and a sword ready. He's the other half. And he can. And it's not to say that he's all doom and gloom. I mean, he's got that Mars warlike energy, but he's, like I said, I see him as fair and structured. He likes order.
Okay.
And so to have that balance between the loving, Empress and the stern Emperor.
Right. So, for the crown then, so what are you going to do for your crown?
So it's just have the 4 points again, because he's the fourth in the major.
Oh, you know what?
Arcana.
My picture is reversed here, isn't it? It is. Let me flip this.
Flipped?
I'm going to flip it horizontally.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
So now, and a lot of what we're talking about, since it was reversed, is going to make a lot more sense.
Oh,
anyway.
and speaking of which, since we just referenced Jamie's thing, yeah, if you want to multi-twitch, it's multitwitch.tv/offbeat artwork, which is my channel.
Well, I'm also doing YouTube at the same time right now.
Oh, very cool. Or you could catch us on YouTube. But if you want to multi-twitch both of our channels at the same time and you're on Twitch, it's multitwitch.tv/offbeat artwork /MyTarot. Because Jamie's MyTarot and I'm Offbeat Artwork.
Yes.
But yes, you can also find Jamie apparently on YouTube.
Yes. So now here's another question for you.
Yeah.
So another important thing is the crown, which you can't really see here, but he's got the bird.
Yeah.
But the Emperor's got the bird here, and he's kind of got a crown that almost looks like on him that almost looks like he's wearing a corn cob on top of his head. But then as you move along, you get more of a traditional crown on top of his hat, which is, you know, a thing. So what are you doing for yours? How are you representing the fact that he's an emperor on your deck?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going with the four-pointed, you know, traditional crown with the 4 points for his hat, much like the Thoth deck.
And what else are you showing? Are you going to have? Is he holding the staff of power?
Yes,
and is
yes.
he holding the same holy hand grenade of Antioch?
Yes. So he's got the Maltese cross. I think I'm
Yes.
going to make him a fleur-de-lis on a globe, and that's just the you know showing that, like the Empress, he's also concerned with earthly ideals, but he shares that with her. But yeah, I've got that. I've got the shield with the double-headed bird and the sun.
So you're gonna
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning Thoth heavy for my emperor, but I'm lining up the landscape so that it connects perfectly with the Empress. It's just that on her side it'll be all fertile, but the land will make a nice little connection like a puzzle piece, and then it becomes the barren, you know, war field.
And how will he be appointed? What is he wearing? I mean, is he is he...
He'll be with the armor, yeah.
And is it, since he's an emperor, is he going to have like the all the luxuries of an emperor or anything like that?
Oh, it's going to be fancy armor for sure. Yeah, like gold and, you know.
You know why I ask? Because it's something that I really love.
Yeah.
Is that, and I'll flip this. The thing about these decks is that the emperor, who everybody thinks should be in power and everything like that, but who do you think actually ends up having all the power? And that's why the next card's going to be 5, whereas the king is just kind of like plainly dressed. You know, his where's his? You know, he's sitting on a throne of stone.
Yeah.
You know, it shows that he, you know, is king, but the papacy and religion is the ruler.
They're the one interpretation.
Well, no, it's not only that, because when you're playing the game of trumps,
right,
5 will always take the 4.
Right, but in the other half of the story, the whole idea of why is he on a stone throne it's reminiscent of the Philosopher's Stone. So the whole
but see, that's not, now this is after the cards were made, and
absolutely.
now this is a interpretation that comes along
absolutely
after. So
sure, absolutely, and it grows like that.
So,
that's how I say.
So I've never heard that sitting on a Philosopher's Stone.
On the Philosopher's Stone, yeah. So
I've never heard that interpretation.
Oh no, okay. So yeah, So some say that the 4, you know, that when you have a cube, it's that fourth dimension. You know, the 4. You with the Empress, it was the triangle, and now with 4, you can make a square. You can actually talk about physical things.
Right, but I'm not seeing any of this in anything, and that's before the 18th, 19th century.
Well, that's true.
So I'm not seeing that. That's why I'm wondering what the foundation is for that.
So
for saying that.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the earlier incarnations with the Marseille and then that kind of thing, he's just
Johnny Marseille.
Yeah, he's on it. He's just on a throne here, and it is outside, but you know it's not like a square throne. That comes later, and you're absolutely right. But it's an important thing that was added. I mean, as early as the Rider Waite.
So why is The Philosopher's Stone. Again, I've never heard that.
You never heard that one?
No. Where did I need to ask where I need footnotes and references because that is interesting.
I'm not sure where I first came across that, but yeah, they
and why the Philosopher's Stone then?
So the Philosopher's Stone is one of these things, much like alchemy, that is this. It's what should be sought after for enlightenment. It's like it's like the Holy Grail, the Philosopher's Stone.
Well, the Philosopher's Stone will give you eternal life. Philosopher's Stone is a way to turn lead into gold, or gold into lead.
In simplified things, yes, but those are all allegories hiding the deeper truth. So it's really, like I said, it's not.
Newton, when he was trying to, when he was an alchemist, what deeper truth were they looking for?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two things. One is that they're fiddling around doing early science. Seeing what chemicals react with others, and absolutely. But on an esoteric level, it's really more than just turning lead into gold. It's about turning your soul into an enlightened, higher version of yourself. It's finding that spiritual quest is the search for this Philosopher's Stone. It's in betterment, and that comes with all the
but before we get too much on a tangent on that, because I just wanted to see, because it's like I'm not seeing the cube, I'm not seeing the pyramid, I'm not seeing the.
Okay, yeah, so it's definitely there in the Rider-Waite. I mean, it's not going to be in those earlier decks that.
Well, no, I see him sitting on a stone throne. That's what brought this whole thing up.
Absolutely.
So he's just sitting on a stone of throne, throne of stone.
A stone throne, which was hiding or subtly suggesting to those that know the secrets, which is what occult means. Occult is just the only thing that occult means is secret. And so that one of the secrets is that this stone throne is representing the Philosopher's Stone, and you've got the same principle going forward.
Okay, so
once you've reached the magical
but that's definitely a later 20th century thing. Okay,
absolutely.
Because here's a deck from the 1800s. It's the Italian deck.
Those things definitely came later.
And keep in mind also, so this is the original Italian deck, in the 1600s. This one here is the 1800s Italian deck. So the decks actually went from Italy all around, and then Marseille became famous because it was a card making. They had card makers in Marseille, and that's why it's called that.
Right.
And then from there it went back to.
Yeah, but even in the oldest deck, I mean, he's got this this stone platform that he's standing on.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Well, it's okay.
I know.
There's hints there, and you're probably right. And when the original artist drew this, they weren't thinking Philosopher's Stone. I'll guarantee that.
Oh no, absolutely.
But later on, the Rider-Waite telling Pamela, oh, make sure that it's a very square stone throne. Yeah, he definitely was. So it's like.
Well, hold on. You say he definitely was, but name one documentation that says that.
I've read it. I'll find it. I'll have to find it for you.
Yeah, because I have never read that.
Well, again, you're more into the older history than
no. I mean, I've any book that you read on history is going to lead up to the Rider-Waite, because this is the deck that everybody. So I mean, I've got 10 books on the history of tarot.
I know. I've got a library too.
I know. And they cover the Rider-Waite.
Yeah.
And
I apologize that I don't know. Off the top
so
of my
that's
head.
okay. So that's okay.
Yeah. I'm not the first to come up with that.
I'm just here to learn. That's all.
No, it's all.
I
good.
hear something new. It's like ooh.
That's
and
cool.
I'm just always I'm
soaking
weird
it in.
that way.
No, it's all good. It's all good. You want to that is definitely not an idea that I came up with, but
right.
it is but it is one of those later added things that was added to the Emperor because again he's the first like he's the bridge. He's the last of the physical. So you had the Empress.
I was just told that my stream is doing a static image.
Oh, it's maybe because it's on this. I don't know.
It looks like. Let me see here. Oh, you know what? It says there's an error down here, and it'd been working so well.
Aw, thanks for letting us know, Black Horse. But yeah.
I'm going to end it and start it again real quick.
Okay. Mine is continuing. So, but I'll wait for JV's to catch up.
So, let's see if that works. Okay, so hopefully that will fix any issues. Oh.
Are we back on?
I think we are.
Okay. So, so the point I was making before was that the...
Okay, so hopefully that will fix it. Okay. Well, that fixed something, didn't it?
Technical difficulties.
Turn off the volume. Yeah, it's a brand new computer. It's like I finally had to break down and buy a new computer.
That's all good.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I was saying was that the Emperor, he's right before it gets spiritual, right? So right before the Hierophant is telling you about that. Hey, it's not just earthly matters. There's the fifth point to the to the star, and we got to start thinking about the spirit. So he's not aware of it, but it's there, and so that's why he's got this connection to this higher source, but he's not aware of it. He's too focused because he's all about the focus, but he's too focused on the material and earthly matters, but the potential is there. The potential is there to find the Philosopher's Stone. He's sitting right on it.
Okay.
but it's just he's focused on ruling and taking care of business.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So, does that play into when you're doing a reading then?
Well, I mean, all these things. Well, if I'm using a later deck, and I get.
I'm trying to. So if I was going to say that he's sitting on the Philosopher's Stone, knowing what I know,
right,
and I pull that card,
it might be
because the king is not. That would have to be something gifted to him. That would have to be something that is, or he conquered or took. Because the emperor would not be one who would sit in a, he would not be the one to do in the study. He doesn't have time for that.
Exactly. That's why I say it's an unconscious, unaware of this wisdom that he does draw wisdom from this higher source, but he's unaware of it. He just is saying, hey, I'm following the rules. Here's the rules. I'm going to make you follow the rules. That's him. But he's like King Solomon. He gets this wisdom, and it comes from the higher source. He's just unaware of it, and so he's tapping into something that he's not fully conscious of.
Okay.
So if you were getting, or if I was getting a reading and I was using a later deck, then that and the reading had something to do with, depending on the other cards around it, where it might play into that. It might be like, well, there's something higher at stake here, but you're just not seeing it. And sometimes that's an important message to hear. So it just all depends on, the reading.
So, okay. And my basic take on the Emperor, because I just need to keep things simple.
Yeah.
I am not as smart as other people out there in Twitch land. So my whole thing when I'm doing a reading is I just want to see what the card is saying.
Absolutely.
Because, different cards say different things. And I'm seeing here, when I use the Rider-Waite, for example. Come here, Rider-Waite. This is an austere person who's staring directly at you. He looks absolutely in charge.
Absolutely.
He's got the rams there. He's showing that he's a warrior. He's got behind him, instead of off to the side as everybody else, he is a gatekeeper. So when you look at some of the other ones, this guy does not look like a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
So the Rider-Waite to me has given him even more power, because he looks like that gatekeeper. So when I get this card, I'm seeing somebody who is stern. I see that, strong. He's holding his orb. He's got this. He's showing he's the king.
I see him a little bit of as a gatekeeper. I mean, he's not passive.
He is protecting everything that is behind him. And if you look behind him, it's all
rocks and mountains.
Right. It is a solid kingdom behind him, and you are not getting past this guy.
Right. But I mean, even with this guy, he's leaning back on his chair, but he's ready to get up. I mean, he's got that staff, and he could beat you on the head with it if he wanted to.
Yep.
I mean, he's passive, but he's ready to spring. So I see him, as a gatekeeper too.
Right. Well, so for this guy right here, because he's he's looking off to his left. He is that to me says that he's looking after tradition.
Yep.
He is a king who is ready to defend what was, and he's also guarding the future. So he's like a father. When I see this card, and I love reading with the Marseille.
Sure.
This is more of a father figure to me who is guarding the future, and to get past him to influence the future, you're gonna have to go through him. But by looking this way, he's also going to he's also looking at the past and tradition and all that that goes with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the same kind of thing that comes later with the Thoth, is that same idea of, like I said earlier, about the putting older ideas in the shadow, and looking towards he's guarding the future, because he's looking left, so he's looking towards the past, but he's got the right things in the sunlight, and the and the things that are old-fashioned in the shadow. It's a future that he wants to enforce. He wants to order and structure. It's not just it's mastery and control over the physical world, but in a way that he wants it to be, and that carries over with all the fours. You look in the pips, and you'll see this or other cards like the card 14. It's the idea of mastery and control over the physical world. So 14 being temperance. Yep. So she's got the pouring the water. She's got all four elements represented.
Well, the number 4 to me, is about the stability. It's about walls. It's about boundaries.
Yeah.
It is one of the most grounded numbers.
Exactly.
It is 4 legs on the ground.
Exactly.
So that's how I see any of the 4, whether it's, and I think that they also think that also with the Rider-Waite, for the simple fact that, you know, I mean, you look at the 4 coins and you got the 4, you know, you've got the person sitting there holding onto their coin, their feet firmly planted on the ground on top of that.
Right. Yeah. It's that I'm in control over this physical money. I am in control over the pouring of the elements, but just on a higher level. But it's because and when you have just as the emperor, it's I am in control. I am sitting on this throne and I'm ruling. You know, the temperance is a whole nother higher level. It's one, you know, it's 10 plus 4. So that takes it. We're evolved a little bit when we get to her,
well,
but it's the same idea.
It's the next cycle.
It's the next cycle, exactly. But it's I'm controlling all the elements. You know, she's got her wings to fly. She's got the fire symbol on her forehead. She's got the foot on the earth and foot. You know, she's. All the elements are represented, and she's controlling them all on a higher level. But it's still about mastery and control over the physical.
Right. So, you know, when we get around to it, it's like one of the things that I really have just never used much is the Thoth deck.
It's
so
untapped potential.
Well, I've never been personally drawn to it. And I've never been personally drawn to Crowley as a person.
Well, it's
because I know he's a showman, and I know all that. It's like, but I know that he's also, as far as the magical side, you know, I mean, he's had a huge influence.
Yeah. So I mean, Crowley is definitely a mixed bag. I mean, a lot of people, you either love him or you hate him. I mean, he's because he's such a dynamic personality.
Well, he's such a polarizing figure.
Yes. But I mean, if you get past the personality, if you get past it's almost like he was a gatekeeper, because he's like, okay, I'm going to put all these stuff in the way so that if you aren't on a level where you can disregard that, you'll never get to the good stuff. And so, well, that's how I see him. A lot of people see him like you, like, oh, he's just, you know, he's a sex fiend and he's a drug addict.
And, well,
and all of that is true.
None of that. Yeah,
all that is true. But
I'm not going to diss it either, because, you know, everything has its own place. Yes.
but he was so much more than just that. He was a poet and a magician and very dedicated and focused to the things that he cared about. And he just happened to have a different moral code, shall we say, than most people. But if you get past that, then, I mean, there's a lot of wisdom that his deck especially takes us into the new eon, as it were.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I want to do, just in honor of you.
Okay.
So, I would be interested in seeing how I would see the Thoth deck then, because I have the Emperor there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to do a little?
No, just I've got my deck, so I've got everything here.
Okay.
And I'm just curious to see how it would look in a spread. I've used it before, but
not that much.
Not that much.
Let's get Jamie out of his comfort zone.
Well, I can interpret anything.
I know.
I have that. So
all right.
So I'm just going to do the good old-fashioned 3-card spread with the Emperor in the center. So if I'm doing something like this, then it's, you know, I'm going to be looking at what it is I need to make sure I have a firm grasp of. And I'm just throwing this out looking at this Emperor because he looks like a combination of the Rider-Waite and the Marseille, because
exactly
he's looking to the left.
Yep, like the Marseille.
So he is looking towards the past, but he also
Gatekeeping.
gives that sense that, anything behind him and to the right, that he's guarding. So to me, this is about the stability. So I'm just going to flip this card, which is the Lovers. And I'm going to flip this card, which is the Hermit.
Can I just show my screen real quick? Okay, back to you. Which was where? Hermit that was that. Yeah, there we go.
So and I'm just curious to see after we've had this discussion, whether I'm going to connect. And I've flipped through the deck and I've looked through it all.
I know you'll connect because you're good at seeing things, and there's so much to see.
So the sense that I get from looking at this is that the Emperor is looking at what he thinks is important.
Mm-hmm.
And, so we have the Lovers here, and they actually have, it looks like there is a marriage going on in itself, because you have the two people.
See if I can get my...
Yeah, you have the connection there, and then you've got a lion, an eagle. Yeah, and so to me, this really is, instead of more like the Rider-Waite where you get a sense of, or the Marseille where you get a sense of choice, this almost does seem like it is about the companionship, the joining together. And so I'm seeing this Emperor here, and he is, it's almost like he's enforcing that this is how it should be. So again, if I was doing a reading and saying, so what is it that I would need to make things stable, to make, to put the Emperor in my situation, I would see the bonds of love, the bonds of family. I would see the bonds that of a holy union would be the important thing. So moving forward with that into the Hermit, which the Hermit is interesting. He's looking also to the left.
Yep.
So with the foundation and the strength of not, it's almost spiritual. Love can be spiritual, that bond. The Emperor has got that strong spiritual feeling. As long as this is taken care of, it's going to give this time to handle whatever situation, learn whatever's needed, to stop, slow down, and take a positive moment. So I get a good sense from the crowd from doing this, and this is how I end up.
Here's Jimmy's
I can't just look at a deck. I need to see 3 cards.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean...
And so these two definitely go together. And, and it's the 6 and the 5. I mean, the 6 and the 4. So we're going down in numbers, but... Which means that the love is the most important thing, followed by the Emperor. And that is the glue, and that is what I would use as a strength to be able to take that moment. If I was reading this card, the final important thing is to be able to, and because look at how strong the colors are for this.
Yeah.
Because that Emperor is just, and when it's comparing to the other cards now and all the blue that's in the Hermit, that Emperor is just on fire.
He truly is. Yeah.
That is absolutely...
He's got lots of Mars energy.
So, yeah, I can see that these two combined together, the yin and the yang, you combine that together, and you'll be able to get what you need to be able to find yourself, find that inner balance that the Hermit has, that inner knowledge. No, that's actually really cool. And again, I've just never, and I don't know if I'll use the Thoth, but it seemed like it was really important for, at least for the card that you're talking about. So I wanted to at least get more of an insight of it.
Yeah. It's
Because
definitely
you talk about the Thoth, but this is the first time I've heard you like say this is, you know. So obviously this was a strong influence on your deck.
On certain cards more than others. Now for the Emperor, definitely. For the Lovers, interestingly enough, that came up in your spread, I don't care for the Lovers card in the Thoth deck.
Right.
So I go very Marseille in my interpretation of that one, but that's a future episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely pick and choose. I try to weave them all together, but there's certain cards that I connect with strongest for certain cards.
Right.
And so so it's definitely a it flows. Like I try to represent them all, but definitely some are represented more strongly than others depending on the card. But the Thoth definitely wins out for the Emperor for my deck.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is good. So, did you want to do an example? Is there a specific example that you wanted to do reading wise, or are you good?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I was having fun.
Yeah.
Watching you're
right.
playing with it. Well, I know it's different. I will say different for you.
Well, yeah. And again, that's how I connect.
Yeah.
I should, you know. I don't know. It just
It's
funny that we're talking so much about the Thoth deck.
I know. I promise I won't.
So many people connect with it, and I totally get it. And it's like, you know, I totally understand and everything else. And I'm not dissing at all.
It's just it takes it to a whole different level, and
well, even reading his book when it starts going all into the Kabbalah and everything else. Sometimes when I'm reading his stuff, it's like I always feel like he's trying to be over intelligent.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But almost as a joke.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to give you this whole.
The more you know, like the annotated Crowley, because a lot of it does go over my head. But he's making puns and jokes constantly with all this stuff, and so if you know. Like, if you're on his intellectual level, it's hilarious.
Well, I'd love to think I'm on somewhat of a level.
But I know we're all on levels, but but I mean, like there's things that he's referencing that are a product of his time, poetry and esoterica and all this stuff, and he weaves it all in together. So I mean, if you know all these different things, then you'll the more you know, the more jokes you'll get, and he becomes pretty funny. But it's but there's a whole lot of he's like an onion. There's lots of layers.
Right. So and it's funny because the more books I read and the more I study and everything else, it's funny the more I come back
you always go back to the
Marseille,
to the origins,
because again it's like reading the history. I see that somebody said, you know, okay, make this card bright red, and so they make it bright red, and half the time, by the time they're done, you know, getting halfway through the run, the red is actually turned pink, and then somebody's going to make their next deck and they're like, you know what, that's a strong color pink, and I think it needs to be, that's going to represent this, and this is my feeling with pink, and so I'm going to put, you know, kittens in there because it represents, pink represents kittens. And
well, maybe not kittens.
And by the 18th century, you know, by the time you're done, you know, 20th century, it's like, this is the cat tarot.
This is the Hello Kitty.
This is the Hello Kitty tarot. And that's why I do like going back. It's like, for me to understand Crowley, I need to Crowley. I'm going to say it. I watch Supernatural. It's Crowley on Supernatural.
Yeah.
So, so, you know, but to understand Crowley, to understand the Rider-Waite-Smith, I find for myself personally, that's why I do go back, because that way I can see the shoulders that they're standing
Oh,
on.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And every step of the way is is fun.
Until you get to the Hello Kitty.
and
I
dial it back.
I think I have
Yeah,
the
I'm
Hello.
sure you do.
I'm curious.
Jamie has so many decks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you?
It's
you have gummy bears.
The gummy bears.
That's just as bad.
It's the gummy bear tarot. Hey, don't knock it. There could be a whole religion based on
There's
this.
a deck for everyone.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
I think I do have a Hello Kitty though.
I'm sure it's buried in there somewhere.
Okay. So anyway, it's that time of the day.
Yeah.
I hopefully my stream cleaned up. I bought a new laptop. I'm still trying to get this stuff worked out. What the heck is going on with it?
Who knows?
But I keep wanting to say Artie Forever because that's your
ArtieForever.com
is his art website.
But Offbeat Artwork.
But Offbeat Artwork is
my
on
Twitch channel.
Twitch, and I've got MyTarot, and MyTarot.org is my website. MyTarot.org. Both of us do readings
and artwork.
And
this
art.
is
I don't do artwork. I'm a musician.
Well,
I'm a musical director for a
That's
Shakespeare
artistic.
company. Oh, absolutely.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out to one of my clients and a fellow Twitch streamer. I am Ronan, who is a champion chess player, and I designed a shirt for him. So that's if you go to I am Ronan on Twitch.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I thought I'd wear that today.
Okay. So
but on that note,
I think we are good to go, and I will figure out one day what the heck's going on with all this streaming stuff. But thanks a lot.
You bet. And next week is the
next week is going to be the
Hierophant,
number
right?
5, the Hierophant.
The Hierophant.
The Pope.
The Pope.
The Pope.
The Pope.
The Pope. Okay. Thanks.
See you later.